Hey investors, welcome all of you to Stoxpot, your go-to episode to unpack what's happening around various stocks and industries. It's me, Lekshman M J, and today we are going to dive into AVG Logistics Limited. But before we begin, I would like to remember you all that this podcast is purely meant for informational purpose, and I don't intend to give you any investment advice, so do your own research before making any investment decision. So having said this, without any further delay, let's get started. AVG Logistics is a company that specializes in transportation and logistics service across India. The global logistics industry is going through major changes right now. New technologies, changing customer expectation, and shifting global politics are transforming how goods move around the world. In such a scenario, AVG Logistics is adapting to these changes by embracing new technologies and focusing on meeting customer needs. And now, I have something to say about third quarter of every financial year in India. It usually covers the festive season. This period typically sees increased customer spending and e-commerce activity, which creates higher demand for logistics service. And now you would have understood why I told that seasonality factor. The next factor that benefits the logistics companies is the government initiatives like the PM Gati Shakti plan and the national logistic policies that continue to drive infrastructure development, which will further benefit the logistic companies. So having said this, now let's see some of the key developments in the company. In the first 9 months of this financial year, the company added 137 new vehicles to its fleet. They also announced plans to acquire a major stake in Kaizen Logistics, which should be completed by the fourth quarter of this financial year. This acquisition will enhance their operational capabilities and strengthen their position in the market. Additionally, AVG Logistics has secured a significant order from one of India's leading heavy infrastructure companies in the cement and steel sectors. The management sees the recent union budget for FY25-26 as favorable for their business, with around 2.9 to 3 trillion rupees allocated for railway development, which support the AVG's expansion into rail logistics. Looking at the financial performance, AVG Logistics achieved a revenue growth of 14.2%. Their EBITDA increased by 14.4% year-on-year with an EBITDA margin of 18.58%. Next up, let's talk about the company's strategic focus areas. AVG Logistics is actively expanding into heavy goods transportation sector, particularly in cement and steel. While these sectors might offer lower margin compared to their traditional business, they provide much faster payment cycles. The management explained that while FMCG companies typically pay 92 to 100 days, cement and steel companies pay within 7 days, which allows AVG to rotate their capital more efficiently. Next, the company is also investing in cold chain logistics, where they currently have around 400 vehicles and plan to add approximately 100 more in the coming year. Cold chain service offers significantly higher margin of around 20 to 25% compared to 8 to 12% margin in regular transportation. So with this setup, AVG Logistics claims to be either the second or third largest player in the segment. In the warehousing segment, AVG currently owns around 3 lakh square feet of space and is planning to add another 1.5 lakh square feet in the next year, which includes a new warehouse of 1.25 lakh square feet in Orissa. Simply, their goal is to add 1 to 2 warehouses every year. In the transportation segment, the company is pursuing a mix of owned and leased vehicles. While they primarily follow an asset-light model, they are purchasing specialized vehicles like electric and LNG vehicles when customers request them for a long-term contract of around 8 years. Now, regarding future growth, the management is targeting annual growth of 25 to 30%. They expect about 10% growth from existing clients, 10% from new clients across various sectors, and 5 to 6% from new acquisitions. Now, speaking about challenges, AVG Logistics had previously announced expectation of winning a government tender valued at 500 crore rupees, but now it's been delayed. However, the management now expects this to be finalized by end of March 2025. They also mentioned an ongoing due diligence for a second acquisition beyond Kaizen Logistics, which they hope to complete in March as well. Looking ahead, AVG Logistics remains focused on diversification and sustainable practices. They are expanding into multimodal transportation, which grew by 25% in the last quarter. The company is also investing in green logistics with plan to add 100 LNG vehicles in the next year, which offer better EBITDA margin than diesel vehicles. The management has revised their revenue growth guidance to around 20% for the current year, which is lower than their initial projection but still represents solid growth. For the fourth quarter of FY25, they are targeting revenues of approximately 182 crore rupees. So that's it for today's episode of Stoxpot. If you find this episode useful, make sure you follow and share this with your friends.